Crime is sexy.
Pablo Escobar's final 24 hours. In the early 90s, the world was ablaze with a feverish obsession to bring down the infamous kingpin Pablo Escobar. His empire had reaped untold wealth and power, leaving countless victims in its wake. As the US government, rival cartels, and Colombian authorities scoured the earth for any sign of his whereabouts, a rogue band of bloodthirsty civilians joined the hunt, fueled by their own twisted desires. But Escobar remained a phantom, his hideaway a mystery that defied all efforts to uncover it. His ability to evade capture was legendary, leaving all those who sought him to wonder, where on earth could the elusive drug lord be hiding? Join me on a journey to explore the final moments of one of the world's most notorious criminals. Drawing from police reports, family testimony, and media depictions, I'll attempt to paint a vivid portrait of what Escobar's last day on earth may have looked like. The twists and turns of his downfall will leave you breathless as we unravel the secrets of a life lived on the edge of the law. Escobar had managed to elude detection and evade capture with the skill of a master magician, and he remained at large until he made a fatal mistake, an absurd misstep that cost him everything, leaving everyone to wonder what the king of cocaine was thinking during the last 24 hours of his life. The king's birthday was celebrated on a hot afternoon in the barrio of Medellin. A picture of the event became iconic, but just one day before it, things were drastically different. In fact, the king of coke had celebrated his birthday the day before, but not like he'd had for the past 16 years as a drug lord, or even the past 43 years of his life. He was relatively free, though he'd been on the run for quite some time. From 1983 to 1991, he played a dangerous game of hide-and-seek with the Colombian government, using violence to evade extradition to the United States. Pablo Escobar was a heartless drug lord whose heinous acts shook Colombia to its core. He wasn't afraid to kill thousands of innocent people, including politicians and policemen, to protect his illegal drug empire. He was also notorious for kidnapping the daughter of a former president and causing a civilian plane to explode, all to serve his twisted agenda. Escobar's philosophy was straightforward: either bribe or bullet. He believed that money and violence were the keys to power, and he used them to manipulate the Colombian government into making a deal with him. In exchange for avoiding extradition to another country, he turned himself in and was supposed to serve time in a Colombian prison. However, he got permission to build his own jail, which he turned into a lavish estate named La Catedral. It had everything a man could dream of, including a spa, sports field, nightclub, casino, and even a zoo. It had plenty of visitors, mostly women, and even famous celebrities like Diego Maradona graced his luxury abode. Escobar's luxurious prison stay at La Catedral was cut short when he executed two of his own men in cold blood right under the watchful eyes of the Colombian authorities. This caused international outrage, and the Colombian government quickly moved to extradite him to the US. However, Escobar narrowly escaped and spent the next 16 months as a fugitive, moving between his numerous haciendas throughout Colombia. It was during this time that he spent his final hours alone, with no party or family to celebrate his birthday. But where was Escobar's family during this time? They were reportedly being held hostage by the government, and their phone calls were being monitored. Just hours before his death, Escobar attempted to reach out to his family, but it's unclear why they weren't with him at the time. The family's captivity adds an intriguing twist to the story and raises questions about their involvement in Escobar's criminal enterprise. The reason behind Escobar's downfall lay in the numerous foes he'd made throughout his notorious drug career. Firstly, there was Search Block, a special unit of the Colombian government trained by the United States to track down and capture the drug lord. On the other side was Los Pepes, a group of vigilantes backed by rival cartels who were determined to eradicate Escobar, his family, his associates, and his influence completely. They posed an even greater threat than the government's Search Block. As the drug lord continued to elude his enemies, they turned their sights on his family. Escobar's loved ones were forced to flee the country, seeking refuge in Germany, but their hopes were dashed when Germany denied them asylum. The rejection sent shockwaves through the family and Escobar himself. In the days leading up to his final hours, he was so devastated that he sent one of his trusted associates, likely Limon, to drop off a tape at a Medellin radio station. On the tape, Escobar's voice was filled with pain, scene as he calmly rebuked the European country. The German government has forgotten that Colombia and other Latin American countries served as a paradise and refuge for German citizens who fled after World War II. They were treated with kindness and respect, and never their innocent family members treated as criminals. Yours truly, Pablo Escobar. In the final days of his life, Escobar had a lot on his mind. He was worried about his family, who'd become pawns in the Colombian government's game to capture him. His anxiety was understandable, as he knew his enemies were ruthless and would stop at nothing to get to him. One of the people he blamed for his predicament was the father of his associate Carlos Leda, who'd been a Nazi. Escobar saw this as evidence of the corruption and evil in the world, and it only added to his sense of desperation. As much as he tried to distance himself from the situation, Escobar knew that it was his own fault that his family was in danger. He'd made countless enemies over the years, and they were now coming for him and everything he held dear. It was a tragic end to a life of crime and violence, and one that Escobar would never be able to escape. Picture this. It's December the 2nd, 1993, and the notorious Pablo Escobar is enjoying a hearty bowl of spaghetti, lovingly cooked by his devoted aunt. With his belly full, he picks up the phone to call his family, a seemingly innocent gesture, but one that would soon seal his fate. Unbeknownst to Escobar, the search block, the elite anti-narcotics unit of the Colombian government, was hot on his trail. Ever since its inception in 1986, the search block had been relentless in its pursuit of the drug lord. Led by Colonel Hugo Martinez, a group of 200 specially trained agents was composed of non-Medellin natives who had no ties to the city's criminal underworld. But it was no easy feat to take down the powerful and elusive Escobar, who practically owned Medellin. The search block had been Escobar's biggest enemy, and the stakes were higher than ever before. Escobar managed to evade them for years, killing 30 of the colonel's 200 men in the process. He tried to bribe the colonel, but when he refused, Escobar threatened his family. The colonel, named Martinez, responded by waging an extensive war against the King of Coke. Over the years, Martinez's task force managed to isolate Escobar by dismantling his Medellin drug cartel and conducting round-the-clock electronic surveillance of the kingpin's radio communications. The search block had been hunting Escobar for years, and there were rumors that they weren't alone in their mission. Rumor had it that a group called Los Pepes was also involved in the hunt. In fact, they were the reason Escobar's family fled to Germany, as Los Pepes were hunting down the drug lord's associates. Los Pepes were vigilantes sponsored by rival cartels, and they were determined to wipe Escobar, his family, his associates, and his legacy from the face of the earth. Their methods were ruthless, and they used any means necessary to track down and kill Escobar's allies. In their relentless pursuit of Pablo Escobar, Los Pepes employed a range of brutal tactics. They publicly offered cash rewards for any information on the drug lord and his key associates. They also threatened Escobar's family, causing them to live in constant fear. No one was safe from their wrath, as they mailed bombs to many of Escobar's close associates and even destroyed 2 of his mother's haciendas. Los Pepes reached a new level of barbarity when they publicly hanged Escobar's sicarios, weakening his defenses and leaving him vulnerable to attack. Martinez's investigation into Escobar's whereabouts was a key factor in bringing the notorious drug lord to justice, but it was Los Pepes who ultimately sealed his fate. Escobar found himself on the run, with his assets seized and his family under constant government surveillance. In a moment of carelessness, Escobar made a fatal mistake by calling his family, leading to the triangulation of his phone signal by the search block and the ruthless vigilante group committed to the annihilation of Don Pablo. Together they worked to bring an end to the reign of terror that had plagued Colombia for so long and put an end to the monster's atrocities for good. In the final moments of the world's most infamous drug lord, a father-son showdown was about to take place. On one side, we have Escobar talking to his son on the phone, while on the other side, we have the leader of the search block, Hugo Martinez, communicating with his own son, who was tasked with tracking down the location of Escobar. It was a tense standoff, and the outcome was sure to be written in blood. It was Martinez's son who first spotted the shadowy figure of Escobar, who was a far cry from the clean-cut and mustachioed man that people had feared for years. The search block quickly arrived in the neighborhood mere minutes after Escobar had made the fatal call to his son. Escobar was still on the phone when he realized that his aunt's building was surrounded. Everyone was fully armed, expecting heavy gunfire from the drug lord's army of cartel soldiers. However, they only spotted his bodyguard, El Limon, who had abandoned his boss and was running out of the building trying to save his own life. He was swiftly taken down. Then the search block stormed the house and blew the front door open with explosives. The stage was set for the final confrontation between the search block and the world's most powerful drug lord. As soon as the search block arrived, Escobar greeted them with a hail of gunfire before taking off to the rooftops, hoping to escape through a side street behind a row of houses. causes. But his luck had run out, and he found himself cornered on the rooftop with no way out. Desperate to save his life, he opened fire on the search block and the Colombian police. The search block returned fire, and the sound of gunshots echoed through the air. Escobar fell to the ground, flat and lifeless. According to the official account, it was an unnamed member of the search block who got close to Pablo and gave him the fatal shot that ended his life. Just 24 hours earlier, the notorious drug lord had been celebrating his 44th birthday, but now he was dead, his reign of terror coming to a violent end on a rooftop in Colombia. The aftermath of the search for Escobar is shrouded in mystery, with conflicting accounts of what really happened. While the official story claims that he was killed in a hail of gunfire on a rooftop, there are some who believe that he may have taken his own life. In fact, even his own family members, including his brothers Roberto Escobar and Fernando Sanchez Arellano, have claimed that his death was a suicide. According to them, Escobar had told them that if he was ever cornered with no way out, he would shoot himself through the ear. They point to the location of his fatal wound as evidence that this is what happened. Of course, their perspective may be biased, as they were not at the scene of the shootout and had their own reasons for wanting to paint a different picture of what happened. Still, the possibility that Escobar's death was a suicide rather than a violent end to his reign of terror adds another layer of intrigue to an already fascinating story. Now, let's examine some of the family's claims and see if you come to the same conclusion as I did. Sebastian Mariquin, Escobar's son, provides some of the most compelling evidence. Sebastian was on the phone with his father in the moments leading up to his death. Sebastian claims that his father knew their phones were being monitored by the CIA and Colombian authorities. Furthermore, Sebastian says that his father had repeatedly warned him to avoid phones. On the day of the shootout, Escobar called Sebastian, but he declined the call 7 times due to the perceived danger. Nevertheless, his father insisted on speaking with him. Another hint that Sebastian offers is that his father had previously instructed him on how to commit suicide if they were ever captured. Escobar told his son to shoot himself in the right ear. The gunshot wounds on Escobar's body were located in his leg, torso, and right ear. Do these pieces of evidence make you question the official version of events? In my opinion, it's difficult to say for sure what happened to Pablo Escobar. The evidence presented by his family members, including his son Sebastian, suggests that Escobar may have taken his own life rather than being killed by the search block. Escobar was known to be a cunning and strategic man, and it's possible that he chose to end his own life on his own terms rather than be captured or killed by his enemies. However, it's also possible that the official version of events is true and that Escobar was killed in a shootout with the search block. Regardless of what actually happened, it's clear that the death of Pablo Escobar marked the end of an era in the history of drug trafficking and organized crime. As we conclude our journey through the final 24 hours of Pablo Escobar, it's clear that the circumstances surrounding his death remain shrouded in mystery and controversy. While official accounts suggest that Escobar was killed in a shootout with Colombian authorities, some members of his family insist that he committed suicide rather than be captured alive. Regardless of what really happened on that fateful day, there's no denying the impact that Pablo Escobar had on the world of drug trafficking and organized crime. From his rise to power in the 1970s to his eventual downfall in the 1990s, Escobar's story is one that continues to captivate and intrigue people around the globe. As we reflect on the final moments of this notorious figure, let's not forget the countless victims whose lives were touched by his reign of terror. May their memory serve as a reminder of the dangers of greed and corruption, and may we continue to strive towards a safer, more just world for all.